What's up, family? I'm Dr. Hawkins, the EG Director here at New Birth, and on behalf of our Senior Pastor, Dr. Jamal Bryant, and our First Lady, Dr. Carrie Bryant, we want to welcome you. We hope you've been thriving this week, but even if it's been tough, remember this: it is God's will that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. New Birth is a church full of spaces designed just for you to get connected. And I'm here to let you know that one of those spaces is our college ministry. That's right, Converge is a space where you can connect, change, and conquer. Now, if you're a college student looking for a community, all you have to do is scan the QR code on the screen or follow us on social media to get plugged in today. And speaking of colleges, this week, Dr. Bryant delivered the Baccalaureate address at Clinton College in South Carolina. And as always, it was a powerful, timely, and transformative word. So family, settle in as we prepare to dive into a message all about courage and progress in the face of opposition.
So tonight is a night of celebration, and it's my honor to introduce our speaker that we have here that's going to bring forth a word to us tonight. I am honored and proud to introduce the speaker and the preacher for our 2025 Baccalaureate service, Pastor Jamal Bryant. Pastor Bryant is the pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. In addition to being a pastor, he's an activist, an author, and a change agent. To be quite honest, I'm gonna just put it like this: he's Googleable. And there's a whole lot that I can say about Pastor Bryant tonight. But as I was reviewing his accolades, there was something that really stood out that I want to share in his introduction. Now, you can Google him, and you can read about all the great things that he's done and all the great places that he has gone, and even about the activism that he is leading even in our society today. But the one thing that stood out to most to me, Pastor Bryant, was the fact that as you were coming up and trying to figure your way, that he was kicked out of 2 high schools. But even in that didn't stop him. Because I read on in his bio, and I learned that he was the first person to ever be admitted into Morehouse College with a GED. And then I read and I learned that he went from a GED to a PhD, because he went to Duke University and to Oxford University. So as we prepare our hearts to receive a word from Pastor Bryant, I want to celebrate the fact, this one simple thing: Pastor Bryant is a testament to the fact that it doesn't matter how you start, but what matters is how you persevere. Clinton College, again, it's my honor to introduce to you our speaker, our preacher for the 2025 Baccalaureate services, Pastor Jamal Bryant. After a song from the golden sound of Clinton College, the Clinton College Gospel Choir, the next voice you will hear will be that of Pastor Bryant. Let's celebrate.
He woke me up this morning, starting me on my way. Hey, the Lord is blessing me. The Lord is blessing me. The Lord, the Lord, the Lord, the Lord is blessing me. Is blessing me. Is blessing me. Is blessing me. Right now. Oh, right now.
Through many dangers, toils, and snares, we have already come. I was glad when they said unto me, let's go into the house of the Lord. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. To our bold, brilliant, bodacious, and beautiful interim president, we thank God for her leadership. To our erudite, astute, and articulate chair of the board, thank you, Bishop, for who you are and for what you represent not just in the kingdom, but in the community at large. To the bishops of the church, the members of the faculty and the staff, and our trustees, most importantly, to the class of 2025. Would you all please stand, the class of 2025? Come on, let's give them a big cheer. You are the epitome of Lorraine Hansberry's daydream to be young, gifted, and black. To the noble clan of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, grateful for your stance on tonight, appreciative for the melodic presentation of this incredible choir from Clinton College. To the parents and to the friends who have prayed through for these graduates to make it to this place. It is my honor and delicious delight to stand before you this evening. I'm grateful to be able to think out loud, and I don't take it lightly, nor do I take it for granted. Several decades ago, when Albert Einstein was teaching at the Institute for Advanced Study at Princeton University, he walked into the classroom and started to write equations on the board. And he wrote out 10 of them. And as he began to write the first of them, he answered it correctly. The class sat there silently in amazement. He went on to the second one and did that right. The third one did it right. The sixth one did that right. The eighth one, he laid it out and he did it right. Then he got to the 10th equation. He laid it out correctly, but he answered it wrong. And when Einstein answered the equation incorrectly, the class began to snicker. And as the students looked around the room at each other, locking in eye contact, none of them wanted to correct the great scientist. But all of them were wondering how this man who knew so much about physics and mathematics could blatantly get this wrong. After reading the energy in the room, Einstein turned to face his students, saw the looks on their faces, and he says, "Can I ask you a question?" And they all nodded in agreement because none of them wanted to say anything, so Einstein addressed the elephant in the room himself. And the greatest theoretical physicist since Isaac Newton turned to his class and said, "Isn't it interesting that I answered these mathematical corrections correctly 9 times, and yet all of you are focusing on the one I got wrong? I did it right 9 times, but you only pay attention to my mistake." And I mention this, Bishop Leake, because that's the kind of world that we're currently living in. You are coming of age at a time when people will ignore all the things you do right so that they can focus on the one thing you do wrong. Isn't it funny how people will ignore your consistency and magnify your mistakes? It's a sad day when you can dedicate your time to 4 years of discipline and study and papers and projects and essays, and yet on this weekend, somebody is just going to pay attention to your hair. The moment you make one mistake, your phone will blow up and your social media page will catch fire. Greatness and excellence gets no attention, but mediocrity is often celebrated. It is my burden to announce to this graduating class that this is the very first time in recorded history that you can become a star without having talent. People will follow you just for having a critique, just because you own a camera, and just because you can play a video game. The algorithm will never celebrate you graduating from college because the system was never designed to do that. It is interesting tonight that CNN is not here, that MSNBC is not here, that Fox is not here, because excellence is never newsworthy, but only foolishness and chicanery. Instead of focusing on the people who did it right, the world would rather focus on who is doing it wrong. And it is so unfair that I now have got to find a McLaren and go backwards to tell future generations who are going to ask of you, what did the graduating class who walked across the stage during the era of Elon Musk and Donald Trump do? The question is going to be asked of you, what did you do when it was under this administration that you could be deported while being a citizen? What did you do when they began to take out artifacts from the Smithsonian? What did you do when the books that were on your curriculum 4 years ago, 4 years later, are now banned? What did you do when your grandmother had to get a second mortgage on the house just for you to graduate, is now being robbed of Medicare and Medicaid? What did you do? If somebody in this house has come 4 years later and doesn't really understand the assignment of your life, you have to understand that you were not born for ease and comfort, but who knows that you were born for such a time as this? You can't expect the people who enslaved you to give you the tools to free yourself.
That's right. That's right.
Malcolm X said, your colonizers will never emancipate you. Booker T. Washington said, drop your buckets where you can. Marcus Garvey said, you can have whatever you will. T.I. said, you can have whatever you like. As Shador Sanders found out this weekend, small-minded people can't handle big personalities. The question is not whether you are gifted. We have a lot of black people who are gifted. It is not whether you are intelligent. There's a lot of Negroes who are intelligent. The question that is going to be begged of you is, do you have courage? And courage, ladies and gentlemen, is never drafted in the first round. Courage requires you to sit out and see people who have less talent get picked before you. People who don't have your skill set are going to have opportunities before you. People who do not have your qualifications will get options before you will. I need you to keep your chin up and keep your chest out. That you are graduating from Clinton College does not make you less than anybody else. Because right now in Harvard University, 87% of those who are graduating from Harvard University this weekend, 87% of them are the children of previous graduates. I need you to keep your chest out and your head up. To know that you are a part of W.E.B. Du Bois' talented 10th. You are the tithe of our community. You are the seed that is going to make the community better. But I need to prepare you that you are not walking into Alice in Wonderland, and this is not the Disney Channel. This is about to be a horror movie. Because you now are going to have to sharpen your heart for what it is that your instructors and teachers and mentors never groomed you for. It is the era of rejection. It's the era of rejection. Can you imagine that in 48 hours, you will be more educated than the Secretary of Education? Anybody who can't read at the right grade level will never develop the necessary internal tools to take down white supremacy and make it bow down. But before you are afflicted with low self-esteem, before it is that your own self-worth finds itself on auction on eBay, know that being picked over is a part of your process. All of you who are here, some way or another, have some connection to Zion. And while you matriculated through Vacation Bible School, you remembered in the creation story that Adam was told that you have dominion and authority over every creeping thing and every crawling thing and every flying thing. And the only thing that you could not have access to was one tree. You had the whole garden, but you can't have this tree. And nobody, and I've got great exegetes and homileticians who flank on this pulpit and on the front row, and they would be able to do a better job than I to talk about the snake and to talk about the pomegranate. And I don't want to talk about any of that tonight. What I want to talk about is the affliction of consciousness of the trees that were picked over. In order for Adam and Eve to get to the bad tree, they had to walk past a tree that had fruit. Your applications are going to be walked over. Your resumes are going to be ignored. Your LinkedIn won't even be read, but it don't mean your fruit ain't good. There are some people who just rather be with snakes. But because there is a call over your life, you have to understand greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And remind yourself, even when I wasn't picked, I was chosen. Because while I was in my mother's womb, he had plans for me. And he decided that I would be the head and not the tail. I would be above and not beneath. That I would be a lender and not a borrower. Don't worry about people not picking you when God had a crush on you in prenatal care. When your X and Y chromosomes were coming together, he saw the genius and the brilliance of who it is that you are. Don't wait till the battle is over. Shout now for the job you don't even have, for the career that wasn't even chosen, for the office you haven't even moved into as of yet. Oppressed people cannot be arrogant. Oppressed people cannot be self-entitled or self-indulged. You have to understand that you have an advantage. Because over the last 4 years, you've been able to swallow Toni Morrison, to digest James Baldwin, to understand the genius of Langston Hughes, that in the Defiance without a picket sign said, "I too sing America." They ask me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I just laugh and eat well and grow strong. For tomorrow they'll see that I too am America. Can you imagine 2025 will be the year that America becomes great for the first time? It was never great before because you had not graduated. But everything that your ancestors were waiting for is now trapped in your chest. The people who come into your life expecting to play games don't understand that they cannot play with your emotions. They cannot handle you like they handled generations that have gone before you. A college education from Clinton College was not equipping you for you to get a job. It was not for you to get a BMW. The aim and the aspiration of your degree was not for you to get red bottom shoes and a Louis bag. It was not for you to be able to play golf. The expectation for you coming out is heralded out of the womb of those who couldn't read, who couldn't write, who had no idea what AI represented. But they made up in their mind, if I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or with a song, it is only then that my living is not in vain. For you to be able to graduate in 24 hours is not for you to put lambskin on your wall. It is to make a billboard to white supremacy that you are not going to be manipulated. For you to be able to graduate, that you understand that you have the same tools of Socrates and of Fannie Lou Hamer. The purpose of an education is to make your humanity bigger than the box that the Census Bureau wants to put you in. The purpose of an education is to make you intellectually dangerous, so that whoever it is that comes upon you will know that you can play with my check, but you can't play with my mind. Isn't it amazing that 2 weeks ago, when it is that we recognize that Jesus was crucified on an ignominious cross, that Jesus did not die for you to become debt-free. Jesus did not die for you to live in a gated community. But of the 200 hills in Jerusalem, they picked the wrong one. Because Golgotha is at the place of the skull. And whoever was, in fact, the stenographer of military science, they picked the wrong order for Jesus to be crucified. Because there were 3 that were crucified that day. There was a thief, there was a robber, and then there was Jesus. It would have been appropriate for the alphas who were in the room for Jesus to be crucified first, because he is Alpha. It would have been right for all the Omegas in the room for him to be last, because he is Omega. But they did not make him an Alpha or an Omega. They made him crucified in the middle. And in the middle of Golgotha, because Golgotha is a skull, it is the encasing of the brain. And where Jesus was crucified, at the center of the brain, is where you make decisions and where your cognitive ability is. So Jesus did not die for you to become middle class. He died for you to be a black person thinking. He died so that you would make shrewd decisions. He died so that you would understand that if a repeat offensive felon can become president, what can I not accomplish? If somebody who does not know how to conjugate verbs can sit in the Oval Office, what can I not do? You got to understand you are America's greatest threat, because you are a Negro that knows how to think and knows how to comprehend and knows how to make decisions and knows how to speak up for yourself. You ain't gonna tap dance when no music is playing. You ain't gonna run when nobody is chasing, but you got to stand up in the words of the original gangster rap music that says, I ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, and before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. I know I'm down south, but if I got any runaway slaves in the building, would you make some noise right here if you know your mind is your greatest asset? You were assigned at such a time as this not to do something financial, but to do something ethical. Education is not about employment. It is an act of resistance. You are graduating in a nation where it wasn't too many years ago you could be castrated if you were holding a pen. You are graduating in a nation where you would be hung from a sycamore tree like strange fruit if you could read. You are graduating in a nation where your tongue would be cut out if you dare speak the King's English. And so please know that what happens on tomorrow is in fact a tour de force of what it is that blood-stained ancestors had to go through the bowels of the Middle Passage ships. Now you're able to walk across a stage, knowing that this does not give you black privilege, but this gives you access and entryway to go into places and dimensions that other people didn't even know that was possible. The Apostle Paul knew that you were coming, and so he sent you a cryptic message that let you know that you'll only be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Whenever God is about to do something, he's got to change your mind first. And one of the ways the Lord will change your mind is by reminding you of where it is that you came from. I'm mindful, Madam Interim President, that this is the baccalaureate and not the graduation, and so as a consequence, it is only appropriate for me to hang a scripture right here. In the first book of Kings, in chapter 20, God told King Ahab that he was going to deliver the opposing army into his hands. But instead of being excited about it, Ahab was worried about a couple of things. The first thing Ahab was worried about was who was going to fight this battle. The prophet essentially tells the king that here it is, the young people have got to fight the battle. The Bible calls them in 1 Kings chapter 20, the junior officers. Not the old and the tired commanders, not the need to retire generals, not the over-the-hill soldiers, but the junior officers. No revolution has ever happened in the course of human history without young people being on the front line. I do not say it disparagingly, but I call it into a call of order that this is the oldest leadership that Black America has ever had. The Honorable Minister Farrakhan is 88 years old. It's the oldest leadership that we've ever had. Maxine Waters is 81 years old. It's the oldest leadership that we've ever had. Reverend Al Sharpton is 70 years of age. It's the oldest leadership that we've ever had. This is the responsibility of your generation, not to wait for somebody to pass you the baton. Snatch it. And understand that this is the time that you have been born for, and what it is that people are waiting for is your voice. Ladies and gentlemen, I am standing in your way. At 52 years of age, for them to call me a young leader is an insult to your timing. I'm older than both Martin King and Malcolm X. I'm not the young leader. I'm a substitute teacher until you take the baton. They are trying to erase Jackie Robinson, Harriet Tubman. They're trying to ban black books, roll back DEI. When I got involved in the movement and called for a boycott of Target, it was because you can't lie to black people and think you're going to get away with it. At some point, you got to stand up for yourself. At some point, you have to tell evil no. No, you can't take $12 million a day from us. No, you can't disrespect us. No, you can't play in our face. No, you can't just give us jobs in the warehouse but not in the office. No, you can't play with our future. No, you can't treat me like a commonality. No, you can't break your promises. No, you cannot expect to take my dollar and my dignity. Right. Sometimes you have to tell the people in your life, no. No is the only curse word God has signed your permission slip to speak. And you have to learn how to speak it fluently. Every now and again, you have to come to a place where you understand, what am I prepared to fight for? One of the greatest mistakes that America ever made is that they never declared war on Vietnam. And because they never declared war, they could never declare victory. What are you going to declare war on? Choose what is your weapon. Choose what is your battleground. Choose what it is that you're going to fight with and what you are going to fight for. The second problem that Ahab was confronted with is the Bible says to Ahab another question, and that was, who will start the battle? Ladies and gentlemen, the prophet said to Ahab, what is my responsibility to say to you tonight? You will. It's a two-word answer. You will. You will be better than the church you were raised in. You will. You will find the real compassion of Christ to not excuse a generation from worship and service and the kingdom because they got tattoos. You will. You will not excuse them from service because they got piercings and have a different haircut than your grandmother. You will. You will have to hold up the standard because this is the largest demographic of black people who don't go to church in our history. 26%. You will. This is the largest demographic of black people who are self-proclaimed atheists. 7%. You will. And so the real question is not, are you going to go to church? The question is, will you be the church?
Yes.
That your life has got to be stained glass windows. That your legacy has got to be a cathedral. That your heritage has got to be what it is that we stand on. Upon this rock, we will build you. You got to ask yourself, is your faith going to shake because the recession is coming? Are you going to lose your raison d'etre because of tariffs from China and from Mexico? Are you going to lose your focus because Canada refuses to become the 51st state? Are you called to be suburban, or are you called to be a sacrifice? You will. And the question, ladies and gentlemen, that nobody will ever tell you is that you are not called to be Dr. King. You're not even called to be Rosa Parks. You're not called to be Kamala Harris. You're not even called to be Marilee Evers Williams. Can you imagine you are called to be Isaac, to lay down for a generation who didn't have enough strength to hold up the knife? And while you lay down, I want you to know that you will not die, but you will escape. And the greatest escape that I give warning to the older generation who is present on why you have to invest in these Isaacs is that while Abraham is considered the father of the faith, Dr. Morrison, it ought to be noted that when they came down from the mountain, I have no biblical record of Isaac ever speaking to Abraham again. He got promoted and lost his family in the process. What will success look like for you 2 marriages later? What will success look like for you for children you got to beg to text you back? What will success look like for you that you don't even know who loves you until you are in hospice? What will success look like for you? And if your greatest aspiration is a Rolex and a Maybach and a gated home, you have not graduated. You have repeated the grade.